The contract sat on my desk like poison waiting to kill. Diamond Events by Sasha was written in gold letters across the top. I stared at those words until they burned into my brain. This was it. This was the company that belonged to the woman who had been sleeping with my husband for 6 months. My hands shook as I picked up the pen. 2 weeks ago, I had found out about Robert's affair. Not because he told me. Not because someone warned me. I found out because I followed him one evening when he said he was working late. Instead of going to his office, he drove to an apartment complex across town and walked right into the arms of a tall woman with perfect skin and a smile that could stop traffic. The woman was beautiful. Young, confident, with long dark hair and expensive clothes. Her name was Sasha Monroe, and she owned the biggest event planning company in our city. She had no idea who I was when I walked into her office 3 days ago, asking about planning a surprise party. 15 years of marriage, I had told her, forcing my best smile. I want to surprise my husband with something special. She had been so excited to help me. So sweet. So professional. She had no clue that the woman sitting across from her was the wife of the man she was sneaking around with. The wife whose marriage she was destroying piece by piece. Now I was about to sign a contract that would pay her company $30,000 to plan the most expensive surprise party this town had ever seen. $30,000 that would come from the account Robert and I shared. Money that he had earned. Money that would go straight into the pocket of his mistress. But this wasn't just about money. This was about something much bigger. Something that would change everything. I signed my name on the contract, Nina Collins. The same last name that Robert carried. The same last name that Sasha whispered when she thought no one could hear her on those phone calls that Robert now took in the garage. The party was set for 5 weeks from now. 5 weeks to plan the perfect event. 5 weeks for Sasha to put her heart and soul into creating something beautiful. 5 weeks for me to watch her work, knowing what I knew, planning what I was planning. I had told Sasha that I wanted the party to be a surprise for Robert. That he had no idea it was happening. That was true, but not in the way she thought. Robert had no idea about the party, and he had no idea about what was coming for him. The guest list was already in my head. Everyone we knew. His family, my family, our friends, his co-workers, my co-workers, people from church. Everyone who mattered in our lives would be there to witness what I had planned. 120 people who thought they were coming to celebrate our marriage. Sasha had asked me what kind of party I wanted. I had smiled and told her I wanted something that showed everyone who we really were. Something honest. She had loved that idea. She thought it was romantic. If only she knew. I folded the contract and put it in my purse. Tomorrow I would start working closely with the woman who was sleeping with my husband. I would watch her get excited about planning a party that would ruin her life. I would listen to her talk about love and celebration while she was busy breaking up my marriage. The beautiful part was that she would never see it coming. None of them would. Not Sasha, not Robert, not the 120 people who would be there to watch it all happen. For 15 years I had been the perfect wife. I had supported Robert's business, taken care of our home, been faithful and loving and everything a wife should be. I had given him the best years of my life, and this was how he repaid me. By sneaking around with a younger woman. By lying to my face every single day. By making me feel like I was losing my mind when I started to notice things. Well, losing my mind was exactly what I was about to do. But not the kind of crazy they expected. Not the kind where I cried and begged and tried to win him back. The kind of crazy where I planned and plotted and made sure that everyone knew exactly who Robert Collins really was. The surprise party would be perfect. Sasha would make sure of that. She was the best at what she did, and she was going to put together the most beautiful, elegant, unforgettable event of her career. She would spare no expense because I had told her money was no problem. She would put her creativity and skill into every detail because she thought she was helping a wife celebrate her marriage. And when the night came, when all the guests were there, when the decorations were beautiful and the food was amazing and the music was playing, that's when they would all learn the truth. That's when Robert and Sasha would discover that I knew everything. That's when their secret would become everyone's business. I had never been a cruel person before. I had always believed in forgiveness and working things out. But something had changed in me the moment I saw them together in that parking lot. Something had broken that could never be fixed. Not by sorry words or promises or counseling or any of the things that people do when marriages fall apart. This was my marriage, my life, my choice about how it would end. And I was choosing to end it in a way that would make sure everyone remembered exactly what Robert Collins had done to the woman who loved him. The party would be in 5 weeks. 5 weeks to watch them both play their parts, never knowing that I was directing the whole show. My phone rang, breaking the silence. Robert's name appeared on the screen. "Hi, honey," I answered, keeping my voice normal. Hey babe, I'm going to be late tonight. Big project at work. Another lie. It was Tuesday and Robert always worked late on Tuesdays now. Except he wasn't at work. He was with Sasha. That's fine, I said. I have some things to do anyway. Love you, he said. Love you too, I replied, the words tasting like poison in my mouth. After he hung up, I looked around our living room. 15 years of pictures on the walls. Our wedding, vacations, holidays, birthdays. All those memories, all those years, and it was ending like this. But I wasn't going to let it end quietly. I wasn't going to disappear with half our stuff and a broken heart while Robert and Sasha rode off into the sunset together. I was going to make sure that everyone who mattered knew exactly what kind of man Robert Collins was. And Sasha was going to help me do it, one perfect detail at a time. The revenge would be sweet, it would be public, and it would be absolutely perfect. The next morning, I woke up early and made Robert breakfast like I had every day for 15 years. Scrambled eggs, coffee, orange juice. He sat at the kitchen table scrolling through his phone, probably texting her. Working late again tonight? I asked, keeping my voice casual. Probably, he said without looking up. This project is taking forever. Another lie. He hadn't worked late in months. He had been with Sasha, probably at her place, probably making plans for their future while I sat at home wondering why my husband didn't seem to want me around anymore. Okay, I said, pouring his coffee. I might go out with Lisa tonight anyway. After he left for work, I got dressed in my best outfit and drove to Sasha's office. Diamond Events was in a fancy building downtown with marble floors and huge windows. Sasha met me in the lobby, looking perfect as always in a white dress and gold jewelry. Nina. I'm so excited to start planning your party, she said, giving me a hug that made my skin crawl. I stayed up late thinking about ideas. We went to her office, which was decorated in white and gold with fresh flowers everywhere. Photos of past events covered the walls, showing fancy weddings and birthday parties and business events. She was good at what she did. I had to give her that. So I've been thinking about what you said, she began, pulling out a thick folder. You want something that shows people who you really are as a couple. I love that. It's so much more meaningful than just picking pretty colors. I nodded, watching her face as she talked. She was really excited about this project. Her eyes lit up when she described her ideas. For a moment, I almost felt bad for her. Almost. I was thinking we could do something with a truth theme, she continued. Like, maybe we use mirrors and crystal and things that reflect light. The symbolism would be about honesty and seeing things clearly. Mirrors. Perfect. Everyone would be able to see everything clearly when the truth came out. I love it, I said. Tell me more. For the next 2 hours, Sasha walked me through her vision. She had ideas for everything. Decorations, food, music, the whole timeline for the evening. She showed me photos of similar events she had planned, explained how she would transform the hotel ballroom I had chosen, gave me estimates for costs. Every detail was perfect. Every suggestion showed how much thought she was putting into this. She really wanted to give me the best surprise party possible. The irony was almost funny. What about speeches? She asked. Will you want to say something to your husband? Maybe some of your friends or family? Oh yes, I said, trying not to smile. I definitely want to say something. And I think some of our friends will want to speak too. Can we set up a good sound system? Absolutely. We can have a microphone area, maybe some special lighting for that part of the evening. Perfect. Everyone would be able to hear every word clearly. We spent another hour going over guest lists and invitations. Sasha suggested elegant invitations with gold lettering. She wanted to include a photo of Robert and me from our wedding day. It would be so sweet, she said. Show everyone how young and in love you were, and here you are 15 years later, still going strong. Still going strong. If only she knew how wrong she was. That sounds beautiful, I said. I'll find a good photo for you to use. By the time I left her office, we had planned almost every detail of the party. Sasha was excited, energized, already talking about calling vendors and booking services. She walked me to the door, still talking about ideas and timelines. Nina, I have to tell you, this is going to be one of my favorite events, she said as we said goodbye. There's something so special about celebrating real love. Your husband is so lucky to have someone who wants to honor your marriage this way. I managed to smile and thank her, but inside I was screaming. Real love. She was sleeping with my husband and talking to me about real love? The nerve of this woman was unbelievable. I drove home and spent the rest of the day making phone calls. First I called a lawyer. Not to file for divorce yet, but to understand what would happen. I wanted to know what I would get, how things would be divided, what the process would look like. The lawyer, Mr. Thompson, was kind but direct. After 15 years of marriage, I would get half of everything. The house, the savings, Robert's business, everything we had built together. He also told me that if I could prove adultery, it might help in some states, but it wasn't necessary. Do you want to start divorce proceedings now? He asked. Not yet, I said. I need a few more weeks to get things ready. Next, I called Robert's sister Emma. Emma and I had always been close, and I knew she would be honest with me about what she knew. Nina, is everything okay? She asked when I told her I needed to talk. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. Has Robert said anything to you about problems in our marriage? About being unhappy? About anyone else? There was a long pause. Too long. Emma? Nina, I don't know what to say. I mean, Robert hasn't said anything directly, but... But what? He's been different lately. Distant when we talk. And I saw him a few weeks ago at the mall with a woman. I didn't think much of it at the time, figured it was work-related, but when you ask me like this... So Robert's own sister had seen them together. That meant other people probably knew too. Other people had been watching my marriage fall apart and no one had bothered to tell me. Thank you for being honest, I said. Nina, are you okay? Do you need anything? I'm fine. But Emma, I'm planning a surprise party for Robert and me. 5 weeks from Saturday. I'll send you an invitation, but I wanted to make sure you could be there. It's important. Of course. Whatever you need. After I hung up, I sat in my living room looking at the photos on the side table. 15 years of pictures. Our wedding, vacations, holidays, birthdays. All those memories, all those years, and it was ending like this. But I wasn't going to let it end quietly. I wasn't going to disappear with half our stuff and a broken heart while Robert and Sasha rode off into the sunset together. I was going to make sure that everyone who mattered knew exactly what kind of man Robert Collins was. And Sasha was going to help me do it, one perfect detail at a time. That night, Robert came home at 10, exactly when he said he would. He was getting better at his timing, I had to give him that. How was work? I asked. Long day, he said, not meeting my eyes. I'm tired. He went straight upstairs to shower. While he was in the bathroom, I checked his phone. New text from us that said, missing you already. Tomorrow was Wednesday. Robert always worked late on Wednesdays now too. I put his phone back exactly where he left it and went to bed. In 5 weeks, none of this would matter anymore. In 5 weeks, everyone would know the truth. Wednesday came and Robert left for work whistling. He was in a good mood, taking extra time with his appearance, wearing the cologne I had bought him for Christmas. All for her. I waited until 9 o'clock, then drove to Sasha's office building. I parked across the street where I could see the entrance but wouldn't be noticed. At 9:45, Robert's truck pulled into the parking lot. So this was where they met. Her office building. How convenient for her, how risky for him. But then again, Robert had always been willing to take risks when it came to things he wanted. I sat in my car for an hour and a half, watching the building, imagining what they were doing up there. Were they talking about their future? Were they laughing about how clueless I was? Were they making plans for after Robert left me? At 11:30, Robert came out of the building. He looked happy, relaxed, satisfied. He got in his truck and drove away, probably back to his real job where he would pretend to have been working all morning. I waited another 10 minutes, then went into the building. Sasha was at her desk when I arrived and she looked glowing. Her hair was slightly messy, her lipstick was fresh, and she had that look that women get when they've been with a man they love. Nina. Perfect timing, she said, standing up to greet me. I just got off a call with the caterer, and I have amazing news about the menu. For the next hour, she showed me samples and photos and talked about her plans for the party. She was making progress on every detail, calling vendors, booking services, putting together a timeline for the evening. I spoke with the hotel yesterday, she said, pulling out a folder. The ballroom will be available for setup starting at noon on the day of the party. My team will need about 5 hours to get everything perfect. She showed me the floor plan she had created. Round tables for 8 people each, a dance floor in the center, a stage area for speeches, and those mirrors she had suggested placed around the room. What about the guest list? She asked. Have you finalized the invitations? I handed her the list I had prepared. 120 people. Robert's family, including his parents who lived 2 hours away. My family, including my brother who would fly in from Texas. Our friends from college, neighbors, people from church, Robert's business partners, my co-workers. Everyone who knew us as a couple. This is wonderful, Sasha said, looking over the names. Such a good turnout for your special day. Your husband is going to be so surprised. Surprised was definitely the right word. Have you thought about what you want to say in your speech? She asked. Oh yes, I said. I've been working on it for weeks. I want to talk about truth and honesty in marriage. About how important it is to really know the person you're married to. That's beautiful. I'm sure it will be very touching. Touching was one way to put it. We spent the rest of the meeting going over details. The menu, steak and chicken. The music, a DJ who played classic rock and dance music. The decorations, elegant white and gold with those meaningful mirrors. And the timeline, cocktails at 6, dinner at 7, speeches at 8:30. One more thing, Sasha said as we wrapped up. I always like to do something special for the anniversary couple. A little surprise moment during the party. Maybe we could arrange for someone to sing your wedding song? Or create a photo slideshow of your 15 years together. A photo slideshow sounds perfect, I said. I have lots of pictures I could give you. Wonderful. I'll put together something really special. A tribute to your love story. A tribute to our love story. She had no idea how accurate that was going to be. That afternoon, I went home and started going through photo albums. 15 years of pictures from our wedding day to last Christmas. I pulled out the best ones. Us on our honeymoon, buying our first house, at family gatherings, on vacations, celebrating birthdays and holidays. But I also pulled out some other photos. Recent ones where Robert looked distracted or unhappy. Pictures from the last few months where he was checking his phone or seemed like he wanted to be somewhere else. Photos that told a different story than the happy marriage everyone thought we had. I put them all in a box for Sasha to use in her slideshow. Let her figure out how to make sense of them. That evening, Robert came home at his usual late time, full of stories about his difficult day at work. He was getting better at lying, I had to give him that. More creative with his excuses, more detailed in his stories. How was your day? He asked, settling into his chair with a beer. Good, I said. I had lunch with my mom. She's excited about her garden this year. Another lie. I was getting better at them too. Robert nodded and turned on the television. We sat in the same room for the rest of the evening, him watching sports and me reading a magazine, both of us living completely separate lives while pretending to be a married couple. At 10 o'clock he went upstairs to bed. I waited until I heard him snoring, then went to his office and turned on his computer. Robert wasn't great with technology and he never remembered to log out of his email. There they were. Dozens of emails between Robert and Sasha going back 6 months. I didn't read them all. I didn't need to torture myself with the details of their relationship. But I read enough to understand what was happening. They were in love. Real love, not just physical attraction. They talked about the future, about being together, about how hard it was to sneak around. Sasha had been asking Robert to leave me, and he kept saying he needed more time to figure out how to do it. In the most recent email from earlier that day, Robert had written, "Soon, baby. I just need to get through a few more things and then we can be together the way we want to be." A few more things. Like our surprise party, which he still knew nothing about. I printed out the worst emails and put them in a folder. Evidence for later. Then I did something that surprised even me. I sent Sasha an email from Robert's account. Can't stop thinking about this morning. You're incredible and I can't wait until we don't have to hide anymore. Soon, beautiful. Very soon. I sent it and immediately deleted it from his sent folder. By tomorrow morning, Sasha would think Robert was getting more serious about leaving me. She would be excited, hopeful, making plans for their future. She had no idea that their future was about to crash down around them in the most public way possible. I went to bed that night feeling something I hadn't felt in months, powerful. For 15 years I had been reactive, accommodating, always trying to make everyone else happy. But now I was in control. Now I was the one making the plans and calling the shots. And Robert and Sasha were going to learn what happened when you crossed Nina Collins. Thursday morning brought a phone call from Sasha that made my heart race. "Nina, I hope you don't mind me calling so early, but I couldn't wait to share this with you," she said, her voice bubbling with excitement. "I had the most amazing idea for your party last night." "Tell me," I said, though I could already guess what had inspired her sudden burst of creativity. "What if we created a timeline of your marriage? Not just photos but actual mementos. Your wedding certificate, maybe some love letters, anniversary cards, important moments. We could display them alongside the photos to show the journey of your relationship." Love letters. If only she knew that the only love letters Robert had written in the past 6 months had been to her. "That sounds wonderful," I said. "I'm sure I can find some things to include." "Perfect. And Nina, I have to tell you, working on your party is reminding me how beautiful real commitment is. 15 years of marriage in today's world is so special and rare." I gripped the phone tighter. She was lecturing me about commitment while sleeping with my husband. The woman had no shame. Yes, it's definitely rare, I managed to say. Not everyone has what it takes to honor their promises. Exactly. Your husband is so lucky to have someone who values loyalty the way you do. Loyalty. I almost laughed out loud. We spent another 20 minutes discussing details for the party. Everything was coming together perfectly. The invitations were being printed, the vendors were booked, the hotel ballroom was reserved. Sasha had thought of everything, right down to special napkins with our wedding date printed in gold. After I hung up, I sat in my kitchen drinking coffee and thinking about how this was all going to play out. In 4 weeks, 120 people would gather in that ballroom expecting to celebrate 15 years of marriage. Instead, they were going to witness the end of it. But first I had work to do. I spent the morning gathering items for Sasha's timeline display. Our marriage certificate, photos from our wedding day, cards from past anniversaries. But I also included some other things. The deed to our house that showed both our names, the life insurance policy that listed me as the beneficiary, the bank statements that showed how much money we had saved together. Let everyone see exactly what Robert was throwing away. That afternoon, I went to see Dr. Patricia Wells, our family doctor. Patricia had been treating both Robert and me for years, and I trusted her to be discreet. "Nina, what can I do for you today?" she asked when I sat down in her office. "I need to ask you about something private," I said. "If someone was having an affair, would there be any health concerns I should know about?" Patricia's expression grew serious. "Are we talking about you or Robert?" "Robert." She was quiet for a moment, then pulled out a notepad. "I think you should get tested for STDs. All of them. It's just a precaution, but it's important." The thought hadn't even occurred to me. After 15 years of marriage, I hadn't considered that Robert might be putting my health at risk along with everything else. "Can we do that today?" I asked. "Of course." An hour later, I left Dr. Wells' office with a promise that she would call me with the results in a few days. I felt sick thinking about it, but I was glad I had taken care of it. That evening, Robert came home with flowers. Grocery store flowers, the kind he grabbed when he felt guilty about something. He used to bring me flowers every Friday when we were first married. Now he only brought them when his conscience was bothering him. "What are these for?" I asked, taking the bouquet. "Do I need a reason to bring my wife flowers?" he said, kissing my cheek. "Yes, you do," I thought. "You've needed a reason for 6 months, and the reason is always guilt." "They're beautiful," I said instead. "I'll put them in water." We had dinner together that night, something we hadn't done in weeks. Robert was trying extra hard to be charming, asking about my day, complimenting the food, even suggesting we watch a movie together. I knew what this was about. He was planning something. Maybe he was finally going to tell me about Sasha. Maybe he was working up the courage to ask for a divorce. Or maybe Sasha was pressuring him to move faster, and he was trying to ease his guilt by being a better husband for a few days. "Robert," I said during the movie, "are you happy?" He looked startled by the question. "What do you mean?" "I mean with us. With our marriage. With your life. Are you happy?" He was quiet for a long time, staring at the television screen. "That's a big question, Nina." "It's a simple question." "I don't know," he said finally. "I think I'm going through something. Questioning everything, wondering if this is all there is." This is all there is. 15 years of marriage, and I was all there is to him. "What would make you happy?" I asked. Another long pause. "I don't know. Maybe we should talk to someone. A counselor or something." A counselor. Now that was rich. He wanted to go to counseling while he was having an affair. "Sure," I said. "We can do that." But we both knew we wouldn't. By the time we could get an appointment, everything would be over. The rest of the weekend passed quietly. Robert worked in the yard on Saturday, and I went shopping for a dress to wear to the party. I found a beautiful red dress that was elegant but strong-looking. Perfect for what I had planned. Sunday we went to church like we did every week. We sat in our usual seats, sang the hymns, listened to the sermon about forgiveness and grace. I wondered what the people around us would think when they found out about Robert's affair. After church, several people mentioned how excited they were about our party. Word was getting around just like I wanted it to. 15 years, said Mrs. Baker from the choir. "That's so wonderful these days." "Nina is throwing me a surprise party," Robert said, smiling at me. "She thinks I don't know, but I figured it out." My blood ran cold. "You knew about the party? How did you find out?" I asked, trying to keep my voice casual. "You're not as sneaky as you think," he said, laughing. "I saw the contract for the hotel ballroom on your desk." The contract. I had been so careful about everything else, but I had left that stupid contract where he could see it. Are you upset? I asked. Are you kidding? I'm excited. I can't wait to see what you've planned. He put his arm around me and squeezed, and for a moment I almost felt sorry for him. He thought I was throwing him a party because I loved him. He had no idea what was really coming. That night, I called Sasha to let her know that Robert had figured out about the party. Oh no, she said. I was so hoping to keep it a surprise. It's okay, I said. He doesn't know any of the details. He just knows there's going to be a party. Well, we'll still make it amazing, she said. Surprise or not, it's going to be a night you'll never forget. A night I'll never forget. She had no idea how right she was. Sasha, I said, can I ask you something personal? Of course. Do you believe that people get what they deserve in life? She was quiet for a moment. That's an interesting question. I guess I believe that actions have consequences, if that's what you mean. Yes, I said. That's exactly what I mean. Actions have consequences. In 3 weeks, Sasha and Robert were going to learn exactly what that meant. The invitations went out on Monday morning. Elegant white and gold cards with our wedding photo and the words 15 years of truth, printed in beautiful script. Sasha had outdone herself with the design. By Wednesday the responses were pouring in. Everyone was coming. Robert's parents, my brother from Texas, college friends we hadn't seen in years, neighbors, co-workers, church members. 115 people had said yes so far. This is incredible, Sasha said when I stopped by her office to check on the responses. I've never seen such a high acceptance rate for a party. Of course everyone was coming. People loved a good celebration, especially when they thought it was about love and commitment. They had no idea they were really coming to watch a marriage explode in public. Have you thought any more about your speech? Sasha asked. Actually, I've written it, I said, pulling a folded paper from my purse. Would you like to read it? Her eyes lit up. I would love to. I handed her the speech I had carefully written over the past week. It was perfect, emotional, heartfelt, full of beautiful words about marriage and commitment. But it wasn't the speech I was actually going to give at the party. Nina, this is beautiful, Sasha said, wiping tears from her eyes after she finished reading. Your husband is going to be so moved. This is exactly what love sounds like. What love sounds like. If only she knew what my real speech sounded like. I'm glad you like it, I said. I wanted to make sure it would fit with the tone of the evening. It's perfect. Just perfect. We spent the rest of the meeting going over final details. The flowers were ordered, the DJ was confirmed, the photographer was booked. Sasha showed me photos of similar events she had done, describing how she would set up the lighting and arrange the tables. I have a surprise for you too, she said as we wrapped up. I've been working on something special for the photo slideshow. A video tribute to your marriage that will play during dinner. A video tribute. Even better than I had hoped. What kind of video? I asked. Pictures set to music with quotes about love and marriage displayed between the photos. It's going to be really emotional. That sounds amazing. What quotes are you using? Oh, things about commitment and faithfulness and true love lasting forever. I found some beautiful ones about how real love means never betraying the person you promised to love. Never betraying the person you promised to love. The irony was so perfect I almost couldn't believe it. I can't wait to see it, I said. That evening I had dinner with my friend Carol, who was one of the few people who knew about Robert's affair. Carol was my closest friend, and she was the only one who knew what I was really planning for the party. Are you sure about this, Nina? She asked over our salads. I mean, I understand wanting revenge, but doing it this publicly. He made it public when he started running around town with her, I said. People have seen them together. His own sister saw them. Everyone probably knows except me. But there might be a better way to handle this. Like what? Confront him privately so he can lie to my face some more? Ask him to go to counseling while he's sleeping with another woman? Pack up and leave quietly so he and Sasha can have their happy ending? Carol sighed. I just worry about you. This kind of revenge can backfire. How? People might think you're cruel. They might feel sorry for Robert instead of being angry at him. Let them think what they want. I'll know the truth, and so will everyone else by the end of that party. What about after? What's your plan for after the party? I'd thought about that a lot. I'm filing for divorce the next Monday. I've already met with a lawyer. I'm keeping the house. It's in both our names. Robert can have his business and half the savings. I just want out. And then what? Then I start over. At 37, I start completely over. Carol reached across the table and squeezed my hand. You know I support you no matter what, right? Even if I think you're making this harder than it needs to be. I know. And I appreciate that you're going to be there. Wouldn't miss it. Someone needs to make sure you're okay. Thursday morning brought a call from Dr. Wells with my test results. Everything was negative. At least Robert hadn't put my health at risk along with everything else. But the call also brought something else, a sense of finality. I was healthy, I was strong, and I was ready to end this marriage on my own terms. That afternoon, I drove past Sasha's office building again. Robert's truck was in the parking lot. They were meeting more often now, probably making plans for their future together. I sat in my car for a few minutes, thinking about the woman upstairs who was planning the party that would destroy her life. Sasha really was talented at what she did. She was putting together an amazing event, paying attention to every detail, making sure everything would be perfect. It seemed almost cruel that all her hard work was going to result in her own embarrassment. Almost. But then I remembered Robert's arms around her in that parking lot. I remembered the emails full of promises about their future together. I remembered 6 months of lies and deception and being made to feel like I was imagining things. Sasha had made her choice when she decided to sleep with a married man. Robert had made his choice when he decided to betray 15 years of marriage. Now they were both going to live with the consequences of those choices. That evening, Robert came home with Chinese takeout and a bottle of wine. "What's the occasion?" I asked. "No occasion. I just thought we should spend some time together before the big party." The big party. He was excited about it, looking forward to celebrating our marriage while he was planning to leave me for another woman. We ate dinner and talked about ordinary things. Work, the weather, the neighbors. We ate dinner and talked about ordinary things. Work, the weather, the neighbor's new fence. Robert was relaxed and happy, more like his old self than he had been in months. "Nina," he said as we finished the wine, "I want you to know how much I appreciate you doing this party. I know it's a lot of work." "It's worth it," I said. "Everyone should know what our marriage is really like." 15 years, he said, raising his glass. "Here's to 15 more. 15 more years with me while he was planning a future with Sasha." The man really had no shame. "To truth," I said, clinking my glass against his. "To everyone finally seeing the truth." Robert smiled and nodded, completely missing the real meaning of my words. In 10 days he would understand exactly what I meant. After dinner we watched television together on the couch. Robert put his arm around me and for a moment, it felt like old times. For a moment, I remembered why I had fallen in love with him 15 years ago. But then his phone buzzed with a text message, and I saw him glance at it quickly before putting the phone face down on the coffee table. Even during our nice evening together, even while he was talking about 15 more years, he couldn't ignore a message from her. The spell was broken. Whatever feelings I had been remembering disappeared, replaced by the cold anger that had been driving me for weeks. 10 more days. 10 more days of pretending everything was normal. 10 more days of watching Robert lie to my face while planning his new life with Sasha. And then everyone would know the truth. That night, I went to bed early and lay awake thinking about the speech I was really going to give at the party. Not the sweet, loving tribute to marriage that I had shown Sasha. The real speech. The one that would tell everyone exactly what Robert Collins had done to his wife. I had been practicing it for weeks, memorizing every word, making sure I could deliver it calmly and clearly even if I was emotional. It was going to be perfect. In 10 days, Robert and Sasha would learn what happened when you crossed Nina Collins. And everyone else would learn what kind of man they had been celebrating all these years. The countdown had begun. The week before the party was a blur of final preparations and growing tension. Sasha called me every day with updates, her excitement building as everything came together. "The flowers are going to be stunning," she told me on Monday. "White roses and gold accents just like we discussed. And the mirrors are being installed tomorrow. The ballroom is going to look like something out of a dream." A dream. If only she knew what kind of story this was really going to be. "The DJ had his final meeting yesterday," she continued. "He knows all the songs on your list, including your wedding song for the special dance." Robert and I hadn't danced to our wedding song in years. The thought of doing it now, in front of all those people while knowing what I was about to reveal, made my stomach turn. "Actually, let's skip the special dance," I said. "I think speeches will be enough emotion for one evening." "Are you sure? It would be such a romantic moment." "I'm sure. Let's focus on the speeches." Tuesday brought the final guest count, 118 people. 3 more people had decided to come. Perfect. The more witnesses, the better. Wednesday, I went to the hotel to see the ballroom setup. Sasha met me there, practically glowing with pride as she showed me around. She had transformed the space into something magical. Round tables covered in white linens with gold plates and crystal glasses. Centerpieces of white roses and gold candles. And everywhere strategically placed mirrors that caught the light and made the room sparkle. "The podium is over here," she said, leading me to a small stage area. "Perfect sound system, and everyone will be able to see you clearly. Everyone will be able to see me clearly." That was exactly what I wanted. "What about the video presentation?" I asked. "It's all set up. The screen will come down during dinner, and the tribute will play while people are eating. It's about 12 minutes long, and Nina, it's beautiful." I cried when I finished editing it. 12 minutes of photos showing the progression of our marriage, set to music and quotes about love and commitment. 12 minutes of everyone watching Robert and me look happy together, right before they learn the truth about what our marriage had really become. "I can't wait to see it," I said. Thursday evening, Robert suggested we go out to dinner. "One last date before we become the center of attention," he said. We went to our favorite restaurant, the place where we had celebrated our first anniversary, our 5th, our 10th. The place where we used to go when we wanted to feel romantic and connected. Robert was trying so hard to be charming, holding my hand across the table, telling me how beautiful I looked, reminiscing about our early years together. "Remember our first apartment?" he said. "That tiny place with the broken air conditioning and the upstairs neighbors who fought all the time? I remember you promised we'd have a real house someday with a big yard and a garage. And we did. We built a good life together, Nina. A good life. If only he could see how he had destroyed that good life with his lies and betrayal." "Yes, we did," I agreed. "It's too bad not everyone appreciates what they have." Robert nodded, completely missing the meaning behind my words. "Some people don't know how good they have it until it's gone. Some people don't know how good they have it until it's gone." In 3 days, Robert would understand exactly what that meant. Friday was the final day of preparations. Sasha called me 4 times to confirm last-minute details. The flowers would be delivered at noon. The DJ would arrive at 3 for soundcheck. The photographer would be there at 4 to capture everything. "I have one last surprise," she said during our final call. "I've arranged for someone special to introduce you before your speech." "What do you mean?" "Your husband's best friend called me yesterday. He wants to say a few words about your marriage before you speak. I thought it would be a nice touch." Robert's best friend was Jake, his college roommate who had been best man at our wedding. Jake and his wife were 2 of the people on the guest list. "What did you tell him?" I asked. "I said it was a wonderful idea. He's going to talk about what a great couple you are, how you've been an example to all your friends. Then he'll introduce you for your speech." "Perfect. Let Jake tell everyone what a great couple we were. It would make my revelation even more shocking." "That sounds lovely," I said. "Nina, I have to tell you, working on this party has been one of the highlights of my career. Celebrating real love like yours is what makes my job worthwhile. Real love like mine." The woman had spent weeks planning a party to celebrate a marriage that she was helping to destroy, and she was talking to me about real love. "Thank you, Sasha. For everything. Tomorrow night is going to be unforgettable. It really is. Your husband is so lucky to have you." After I hung up, I went upstairs to choose my outfit for the next evening. The red dress I had bought weeks ago was hanging in my closet, still with the tags on. I tried it on one more time to make sure it fit perfectly. It did. Elegant but strong, beautiful but serious. Perfect for what I had to do. I also laid out Robert's outfit. His best suit, the tie I had given him for our anniversary 2 years ago, the watch that had been his father's. Let him look his best when his world fell apart. That evening Robert and I stayed home and had a quiet dinner. He seemed nervous, excited about the party but also anxious in a way I couldn't quite figure out. "Are you okay?" I asked. "Just thinking about tomorrow night," he said. "All those people, all the attention. It's going to be emotional." Emotional was definitely the right word. "Are you having second thoughts about the party?" "No, not at all. I'm grateful you did this. I just hope I don't get too emotional during the speeches." "I'm sure you'll be fine," I said. "Just speak from the heart. Speak from the heart." I wondered what Robert would say if he knew what was really in my heart. After dinner, I went upstairs to take a bath and finalize my speech. I had been working on it for weeks, refining every word, making sure it would have maximum impact. I knew it by heart now, every pause, every emphasis, every devastating revelation. Tomorrow night, when I stood at that podium in front of 118 people, I would deliver it perfectly. I went to bed early but I couldn't sleep. Tomorrow night would change everything. By this time tomorrow, my marriage would be over, Robert's reputation would be destroyed, and Sasha would understand what it meant to mess with someone else's life. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't sad. I wasn't even angry anymore. I was ready. Robert came to bed around midnight. He kissed my forehead and whispered, "Tomorrow is going to be amazing." Amazing was definitely one way to put it. "Good night, Robert," I said. It was the last good night I would ever say to my husband. Saturday morning arrived sunny and warm, perfect weather for a party. Sasha texted me early, "Everything is going to be beautiful today. This will be perfect." I spent the morning getting my hair and nails done, taking my time, enjoying what felt like the calm before the storm. The salon was busy with other women preparing for weekend events, chatting about their plans, complaining about their husbands in the casual way that wives do. If they only knew what I was planning for my husband. At 2 o'clock, I came home to find Robert in the driveway washing his truck. "Wanted to look nice for tonight," he said when he saw me. "Can't have people thinking I don't take care of my things. Can't have people thinking he didn't take care of his things." The irony was almost too much. "The truck looks great," I said. "You should come inside and start getting ready. We need to leave by 5. Robert nodded and followed me into the house. We moved around each other carefully, both of us preparing for the evening in our own ways. He showered and shaved while I did my makeup. He put on his suit while I fixed my hair. At 4:30, I put on my red dress and looked at myself in the mirror. I looked good, strong, ready for what I had to do. Robert appeared behind me in the mirror, adjusting his tie. "You look beautiful," he said. "Thank you. You look handsome." We looked like the perfect couple. 15 years of marriage, still attractive, still put together, still able to dress up and go to parties together. No one looking at us would guess what was about to happen. The drive to the hotel was quiet. Robert seemed lost in thought, staring out the window as I drove. I wondered what he was thinking about. Was he nervous about the party? Was he thinking about Sasha? Was he planning what he would say when people asked him to speak? "Nina," he said as we pulled into the hotel parking lot, "I want you to know how much this means to me. The party, all the work you put into it. I know I haven't been the easiest husband lately. As if 6 months of cheating was just a rough patch." "It's okay," I said. "Tonight is about celebrating what we've built together." 15 years, he said, shaking his head. "I can't believe it's been 15 years. Time flies when you're living a lie," I said. Robert looked at me sharply. "What?" "I said time flies when you're living your life," I corrected smoothly. "When you're busy and happy, the years just go by." He relaxed and nodded. "That's true." We walked into the hotel together, Robert's hand on my back in the gesture of a devoted husband. The ballroom doors were closed, with a sign that read, "Private Event Collins Anniversary Celebration." Sasha met us in the hallway looking stunning in a black dress. She hugged me warmly, then shook Robert's hand. "Mr. Collins, it's so nice to finally meet you," she said. "Your wife has told me so much about you." Robert smiled and shook her hand, looking at her with the polite interest of a man meeting his wife's event planner. He had no idea that he was shaking hands with the woman he told he loved every Tuesday and Wednesday. "Sasha has done an amazing job," I said. "Wait until you see what she's created." "I can't wait," Robert said. "Nina's been very secretive about the details." "Well, the guests are starting to arrive," Sasha said. "Should we go in?" She opened the ballroom doors and Robert gasped. The room was transformed. Elegant, sophisticated, beautiful. The mirrors caught the light from the chandeliers and made everything sparkle. The tables were set perfectly, the flowers were stunning, and the whole space felt magical. "This is incredible," Robert said, looking around in amazement. "Nina, this is too much." "Nothing is too much for our anniversary," I said. "This is a once-in-a-lifetime celebration." Once in a lifetime was right. This would definitely never happen again. Guests started arriving right on schedule. Robert's parents looking proud and happy. My brother from Texas, who gave me a meaningful look as he hugged me. College friends, neighbors, coworkers, church members. Everyone dressed up and excited to celebrate with us. Robert was in his element, greeting people, accepting congratulations, playing the role of the devoted husband celebrating 15 years of marriage. He hugged his parents, shook hands with old friends, posed for photos with me. "You two look so happy," said Mrs. Johnson from church. 15 years and still glowing like newlyweds. "We're very blessed," Robert said, putting his arm around me. Blessed. If only she knew. At 6:30, Sasha announced that dinner would be served. Everyone found their assigned seats, and I looked around the room at all the people who had come to celebrate with us. 118 people who thought they were here for a happy occasion. Robert and I sat at the head table with his parents, my brother, and Jake and his wife. The conversation was light and cheerful, Everyone talking about their memories of our wedding, their favorite stories about Robert and me as a couple. I remember when you two were dating in college, Jake said to Robert. You were so crazy about Nina. You used to talk about her constantly. I still am crazy about her, Robert said, raising his wine glass toward me. Here's to my beautiful wife, who put together this amazing celebration. Everyone at our table raised their glasses and toasted. I smiled and nodded, playing my part perfectly. At 7:30, the lights dimmed and the screen came down for Sasha's video presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, she announced over the microphone, please direct your attention to the screen for a special tribute to Robert and Nina Collins. The music started and photos of our life together began appearing on the screen. Our wedding day looking young and hopeful. Our first apartment, our first house. Vacations, holidays, birthdays, family gatherings. 15 years of memories set to soft music and beautiful quotes about love and commitment. True love is not just about passion, read one quote that appeared between photos. It's about commitment, loyalty, and never breaking the promises you make to each other. Never breaking promises. The audience was completely absorbed in the presentation, smiling and nodding at the romantic quotes, pointing out their favorite photos. Robert reached over and took my hand. This is beautiful, he whispered. The video ended with our most recent photo together, taken at Christmas just 4 months ago. We looked happy and content, like a couple who had weathered 15 years together and come out stronger. The audience applauded as the screen went back up and the lights returned to normal. People were wiping their eyes, clearly moved by what they had seen. That was perfect, Robert said to me. Just perfect. Perfect. He had no idea how perfect it really was. At 8:30, Jake stood up and tapped his wine glass with his knife. The room grew quiet as everyone turned their attention to the head table. Good evening, everyone, Jake said into the microphone. As Robert's best friend and best man, I wanted to say a few words before we hear from the happy couple themselves. This was it. The moment everything would change. Jake began speaking about Robert and me, telling stories about our college years, our wedding day, the life we had built together. He talked about what a great example we had been to our friends, how we had shown everyone what real commitment looked like. In a world where marriages fall apart every day, Jake said, Robert and Nina have shown us what it means to honor your vows, to stay faithful through good times and bad, to build something lasting together. The audience nodded and murmured agreement. They were hanging on every word, completely absorbed in the story of our perfect marriage. And now, Jake concluded, I'd like to ask Nina to come up and share some words about 15 years of marriage to this wonderful man. The room erupted in applause as I stood up. This was it. The moment I had been planning for weeks. I walked to the podium, my real speech clear in my mind, my heart beating fast but my hands steady. 118 people looked at me expectantly, ready to hear a loving tribute to my marriage. Instead, they were about to learn the truth about Robert Collins. I stood at the podium and looked out at the crowd. 118 faces looking back at me with warmth and anticipation. Robert's parents in the front row, beaming with pride. My brother, who knew what was coming and looked nervous. Sasha standing near the back of the room, glowing with satisfaction at her perfectly executed event. Thank you all for being here tonight, I began, my voice steady and clear. 15 years ago, I made promises to Robert Collins. I promised to love him, honor him, and remain faithful to him for the rest of my life. The crowd smiled and nodded. Someone in the back called out, beautiful. I kept those promises, I continued. For 15 years I have loved my husband completely. I have supported his business, taken care of our home, and never once betrayed his trust. More nodding and smiling. This was what they expected to hear. Marriage is built on trust, I said, my voice growing stronger. It's built on honesty, on keeping your word, on choosing each other every single day. Amen, someone called out. I looked directly at Robert, who was watching me with a proud smile on his face. He had no idea what was coming. But tonight, I want to tell you the truth about what our marriage has really been like for the past 6 months. The atmosphere in the room shifted slightly. People sensed something different in my tone. 6 months ago, my husband began an affair with another woman. He started lying to me every single day. He told me he was working late when he was actually with her. He told me he loved me while he was making plans for a future with someone else. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Robert's face went white. His parents looked confused, not understanding what they were hearing. Robert has been carrying on this relationship while coming home to me every night, sitting at our dinner table, sleeping in our bed, and letting me believe that we had a marriage worth celebrating. The room was completely silent now. You could hear a pin drop. The woman he's been seeing is named Sasha Monroe. She owns an event planning company. I paused and looked toward the back of the room where Sasha stood frozen in shock. In fact, she's the woman who planned this beautiful party we're all enjoying tonight. Now the gasps turned to actual sounds of shock. People turned to look at Sasha, who had gone pale and was backing toward the exit. That's right, I continued, my voice never wavering. I hired my husband's mistress to plan our anniversary party. For the past 5 weeks, I have worked closely with the woman who has been sleeping with my husband, and she had no idea who I was. Robert stood up from his chair. Nina, stop. Please. Sit down, Robert, I said firmly. I'm not finished. The authority in my voice made him sink back into his chair. I want everyone here to understand what kind of man Robert Collins really is. He is the kind of man who makes promises he doesn't keep, who lies to the woman who has given him the best 15 years of her life, who carries on a secret relationship while letting his wife plan a party to celebrate their marriage. Robert's mother was crying now. His father looked like he might have a heart attack. My brother had tears in his eyes, but he was also nodding, proud of me for finally telling the truth. I have copies of emails between Robert and Sasha, I continued, pulling out the folder I had prepared. I have phone records showing hundreds of calls and text messages. I have credit card statements showing dinners and gifts that were never for me. I held up the evidence for everyone to see. Robert, would you like to tell everyone about your plans to leave me for Sasha? Would you like to explain to your parents and our friends how you've been planning your new life while living a lie with me? Robert was shaking his head, looking around the room at all the shocked faces staring at him. Nina, we can talk about this at home. Please don't do this here. We've talked at home for 6 months, Robert. Every time I asked if something was wrong, every time I wondered why you seemed distant, every time my instincts told me something had changed. You lied to my face every single time. The room was so quiet I could hear people breathing. So here's what's going to happen, I said, looking around at all the faces staring at me. This marriage is over. I'm filing for divorce on Monday morning. Robert can have his new life with Sasha, and I can have my self-respect back. I looked directly at Sasha, who was still standing near the exit looking like she wanted to disappear. Sasha, you did a beautiful job with this party. Everything is perfect. I hope you enjoyed working so hard to plan the event that ended your relationship. Then I looked back at Robert. And Robert, I hope she was worth it. I hope 6 months of lying and sneaking around was worth throwing away 15 years of marriage and embarrassing yourself in front of everyone who matters to you. I picked up my purse from the podium and started to walk away, then stopped and turned back to the microphone. Oh, and everyone, please enjoy the rest of the party. The food is excellent, the music is wonderful, and it's all paid for. Consider it my gift to all of you for coming to witness the truth about my marriage. I walked through the silent crowd toward the exit. People stepped aside to let me pass, their faces showing shock, admiration, confusion, and sympathy all at once. As I reached the door, I heard Robert call out behind me. Nina, wait. I turned around one last time. Robert was standing at our table, looking lost and desperate. Sasha had disappeared completely. The 118 people in the room were all staring at us. There's nothing left to wait for, Robert, I said. You made your choice 6 months ago. Now everyone knows what that choice was. And with that, I walked out of the ballroom, out of the hotel, and out of my marriage. The revenge was complete. It had been perfect, devastating, and public. Robert's reputation was destroyed, Sasha's business would probably suffer, and everyone who mattered knew exactly what kind of man Robert Collins really was. But as I drove home through the quiet streets, I realized something unexpected. I didn't feel satisfied or triumphant or even relieved. I felt free. For the first time in 6 months, I felt completely, totally free. I drove home in complete silence, not even turning on the radio. My house looked different as I pulled into the driveway, smaller somehow, less important than it had seemed a few hours ago. I sat in my car for a few minutes, looking at the home I had shared with Robert for 10 years, trying to decide what I felt about it now. Inside, I kicked off my heels and poured myself a glass of wine. The house was so quiet I could hear the clock ticking in the kitchen. I walked through the rooms, looking at 15 years of accumulated life. Wedding photos, vacation souvenirs, furniture we had picked out together, books we had both read. Tomorrow all of this would have to be divided up. Tomorrow I would start the process of untangling a life that had been completely intertwined with someone else's. But tonight I just wanted to sit in the silence and process what had happened. My phone started ringing around 10 o'clock. First, my brother Daniel. Nina, are you okay? I've been worried sick. I'm fine, I said. I'm home, I'm safe, and it's over. That was incredible, Daniel said. I mean, it was brutal, but it was incredible. The look on Robert's face when you started talking about Sasha? How long did it take for everyone to leave? About 15 minutes. Robert tried to give some kind of explanation, but no one wanted to hear it. His parents left immediately, his mother was crying, his father looked furious. Most people just quietly got their coats and left. What about Sasha? She was gone before you even finished your speech. I saw her running through the lobby toward the parking garage. And Robert? He stayed until the end, trying to talk to people, trying to explain. But Nina, no one wanted to hear it. He looked completely destroyed. I felt a small stab of something, not quite guilt, but maybe sadness for the man I had once loved. Do you regret it? Daniel asked. I thought about that for a moment. No. I regret that it had to happen, but I don't regret doing it. He made his choices and I made mine. After I hung up with Daniel, my phone rang again. This time it was Robert. I let it go to voicemail. Then it rang again. And again. Finally I answered. Nina, we need to talk, Robert said. His voice sounded hollow, defeated. No, we don't. We needed to talk 6 months ago. We needed to talk every time I asked you what was wrong and you lied to me. Please, just let me explain. Explain what? How you fell in love with another woman while you were married to me. How you lied to my face every single day. How you let me plan a party to celebrate our marriage while you were planning to leave me. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. How was it supposed to happen, Robert? Were you just going to disappear one day? Leave me a note? Pack up while I was at work? There was a long silence. I don't know, he said finally. I was confused. I didn't know how to handle it. You were confused for 6 months? Nina, I loved you. I still love you. What happened with Sasha? It just happened. I never meant for it to go this far. But it did go this far. And you chose to keep it going instead of choosing your marriage. Can we please just talk? In person? There are things you don't understand. I understand enough. I understand that you're a liar and a cheater, and I understand that our marriage is over. Nina. I hung up the phone. It rang again immediately, but I turned it off. I was done talking to Robert Collins. The next few hours passed quietly. I took a long bath, changed into comfortable clothes, and sat in my living room with another glass of wine. Around midnight, I heard Robert's truck in the driveway. He used his key to come in, calling my name softly. Nina? Are you here? I'm in the living room, I said. He appeared in the doorway looking completely different than he had a few hours ago. His suit was wrinkled, his tie was gone, and he looked like he had aged 10 years. Nina, please. Just give me a chance to explain. Sit down, I said. He sat on the couch across from me, leaning forward with his hands clasped together. I know what I did was wrong, he began. I know I hurt you and I know I handled everything badly. That's an understatement. It started innocently. Sasha was doing some work for my business and we just got to talking. She was single, I was feeling disconnected from us. We were just friends at first. When did it stop being just friendship? Robert was quiet for a moment. About 4 months ago. So you've been lying to me for 6 months, but you've been sleeping with her for 4. He nodded, not meeting my eyes. And when were you planning to tell me? I don't know. I kept thinking I would end it with her, go back to normal with us. But then. Then what? Then I realized I couldn't. I realized I was in love with her. The words hit me like a physical blow, even though I had known they were coming. So why didn't you just leave? Why keep lying to me? Because I was scared. Because I didn't know how to hurt you like that. Because I thought maybe I could figure out a way to do it that wouldn't destroy everything. So instead you decided to let me find out by following you to her apartment? Robert looked up sharply. You followed me? 2 weeks ago. That's how I found out about your affair. Not because you had the decency to tell me, but because I got suspicious and followed you. Nina, I'm so sorry. Are you? Are you sorry you had the affair, or are you sorry you got caught? He was quiet for a long time. I'm sorry I hurt you. I'm sorry I lied to you. I'm sorry it happened this way. But you're not sorry you fell in love with her. No, he said quietly. I'm not sorry about that. At least he was being honest now. What happens next? I asked. I don't know. Sasha won't answer my calls. After tonight? I don't know if she'll ever speak to me again. And that's my fault? No. No, that's my fault. Everything that happened tonight is my fault. We sat in silence for a few minutes. Robert, I want you to pack some things and go stay somewhere else tonight. Tomorrow we can start figuring out how to divide everything up. Nina, is there any chance? No, I said firmly. There's no chance. Even if Sasha never speaks to you again, even if you wanted to work things out, I will never be able to trust you again. You lied to me for 6 months. You made me feel like I was crazy for suspecting something was wrong. You let me plan a party to celebrate our marriage while you were planning to leave me. Robert nodded slowly. I know. I understand. Do you? Do you understand that you didn't just have an affair? You destroyed 15 years of trust and love and partnership. You took everything we built together and threw it away for 6 months of excitement with someone else. Yes, he said quietly. I understand. He went upstairs to pack a bag while I sat in the living room. I could hear him moving around, opening drawers, trying to be quiet. 15 years of marriage and he was packing to leave like a stranger. When he came back downstairs with his suitcase, he stopped at the living room doorway. Nina, I know you won't believe this, but I really did love you. I still do love you. Maybe you do, I said. But it wasn't enough to keep you faithful to me. And that's all that matters now. Robert nodded and headed toward the front door. I'll call you tomorrow about the logistics. Have your lawyer call my lawyer, I said. I don't want to talk to you unless we absolutely have to. You already have a lawyer? I've had a lawyer for 2 weeks, Robert. Ever since I found out about your affair. He looked surprised, then nodded again. Okay. I'll have someone call them. After he left, I locked the door behind him and sat back down in my living room. The house felt different now, emptier but also cleaner somehow. Like something toxic had been removed. I was 37 years old and I was starting over completely. No husband, no marriage, no partner to share my life with. It should have been terrifying. Instead, it felt like possibility. 4 months later, I was sitting in my favorite coffee shop on a Saturday morning, reading a book and enjoying the sunshine coming through the windows. My phone buzzed with a text from Carol. Turn to page 5 of the business section. I walked to the newsstand and picked up a copy of the local paper. There, on page 5, was a small article with the headline, Local Event Planning Company Closes After Owner Relocates. The article was brief. Diamond Events by Sasha, one of the city's premier event planning companies, has permanently closed its doors after owner Sasha Monroe relocated out of state. Monroe, who had built a successful business over the past 4 years, cited personal reasons for the closure and relocation. Several local competitors have reported an increase in business as former Diamond Events clients seek new vendors. So Sasha had left town. I felt a small stab of something, not quite satisfaction but closure. The last chapter of that ugly story had finally ended. I bought the paper and went back to my table. As I read the article again, I thought about how much my life had changed in 4 months. The divorce had been finalized 6 weeks ago. It was easier than I expected, partly because Robert didn't fight me on anything. He took his business and half the savings. I kept the house and my retirement money. We split everything else down the middle with surprisingly little drama. Robert had tried to contact me several times in the weeks after the party, but I had maintained my position. All communication through lawyers. I had nothing to say to him that hadn't already been said. I heard through mutual friends that he and Sasha had tried to work things out for a few weeks after the party, but it didn't last. The public embarrassment had been too much for her, and apparently she blamed Robert for not handling the situation better. Their relationship, built on lies and secrecy, couldn't survive in the light of truth. Robert was living in an apartment across town now. I had seen him once at the grocery store about a month ago. He looked older, sadder, like a man who had made a terrible mistake and was still paying for it. He had nodded at me across the produce section, but I had simply looked away and continued shopping. I didn't hate him anymore. The white-hot anger that had driven me to plan that elaborate revenge had cooled into something more like indifference. Robert Collins was no longer my problem. My life now was completely different than it had been a year ago. I had redecorated the house, turning it into something that was entirely mine. I had started taking pottery classes on Tuesday evenings, the same Tuesday evenings when Robert used to claim he was working late. I had joined a hiking group, started volunteering at the animal shelter, and even went on a few dates. The dates hadn't led to anything serious yet, and that was fine with me. For the first time in 16 years, I was learning how to be happy by myself. I was discovering who Nina Collins was when she wasn't half of a couple. My phone rang, interrupting my thoughts. It was my friend Lisa from the hiking group. Nina, are you free for lunch today? I have someone I want you to meet. Lisa, if this is another setup? It's not a setup. Well, not exactly. My brother is in town for the weekend and he's going through a divorce too. I thought you two might have things to talk about. I laughed. For months ago, the thought of meeting another divorced person would have depressed me. Now it just seemed like life. Sure, I said. Where do you want to meet? We made plans to meet at a restaurant downtown, and I spent the rest of the morning running errands and enjoying my Saturday. It was funny how different weekends felt now. When I was married, Saturdays had been about Robert's schedule, Robert's needs, what Robert wanted to do. Now they were entirely mine. At lunch, Lisa's brother turned out to be a nice man named Mike who was a few years older than me. He was smart, funny, and had a similar story, a long marriage that ended when he discovered his wife was having an affair. The worst part wasn't even the affair, he told me over sandwiches. It was feeling like a fool for not seeing it sooner. Like everyone else knew before I did. I understood exactly what he meant. Did you do anything dramatic when you found out? I asked. Mike laughed. I confronted them at a coffee shop. Made a scene, felt terrible about it later. What about you? I smiled. I threw a party. A party? A very public party where I told everyone the truth about what my husband had done. Mike's eyes widened. That's brilliant. I wish I had thought of something like that. We talked for 2 hours, comparing divorce stories, laughing about the things our lawyers had told us, sharing advice about starting over in your 30s. It wasn't romantic, neither of us was ready for that, but it was comfortable and easy and reminded me that there were good people in the world. When we said goodbye, Mike asked if he could call me sometime. I'd like that, I said and meant it. That evening, I was working in my garden when my neighbor Mrs. Peterson came over to chat. She was in her 60s and had been widowed for 5 years. You look happy, dear, she said, watching me plant new flowers. I am happy, I said, realizing as I said it that it was completely true. I'm glad. That business with your husband was awful, but you handled it with such strength. Mrs. Peterson had been at the anniversary party. She was one of the people who had witnessed my public revelation about Robert's affair. Do you think I was wrong to do it that way? I asked. So publicly? Mrs. Peterson considered this. My dear, when my husband was alive he had a drinking problem. He hid it from me for years, spent money we didn't have, embarrassed us at social events. When I found out how bad it was, I was so angry I wanted to tell everyone what he had done. Did you? No. I handled it privately, got him into treatment, worked it out quietly. He got sober and we had 10 more good years together. I waited for her to tell me that I should have done the same thing. But your situation was different, she continued. My husband was ashamed of what he had done and wanted to make it right. Your husband was planning to leave you for another woman. He wasn't sorry, he was just caught. She was right. Robert hadn't wanted to work on our marriage. He had wanted out of it. You did what you needed to do to reclaim your dignity, Mrs. Peterson said. Sometimes that requires making a statement that everyone can hear. That night, I sat in my living room with a cup of tea thinking about the past year. A year ago, I had been a married woman planning to grow old with Robert Collins. I had been planning retirement trips and talking about maybe having children someday. Now I was a divorced woman living alone, making new friends, learning new things about myself, open to possibilities I had never imagined. The revenge had been satisfying in the moment, but it wasn't what had healed me. What had healed me was everything that came after: the divorce, the independence, the discovery that I could be happy without Robert. I picked up my phone and called Daniel. How are you doing? He asked. Good. Really good. I had lunch with a nice man today. Ooh, tell me everything. There's not much to tell yet. But Daniel, I wanted to thank you. For what? For supporting me through all of this. For being there the night of the party, for helping me move forward, for never once telling me I was crazy for doing what I did. You're my sister. Of course I was going to support you. I know, but I also know it wasn't easy to watch. The revenge, the divorce, all of it. Nina, can I tell you something? What? I was proud of you that night. Scared for you, worried about you, but proud. You took control of your life in a way that most people never could. You refused to be a victim. I felt like I had to. I couldn't just let him leave me quietly while everyone thought we had a perfect marriage. And you shouldn't have. What you did took courage. After we hung up, I went upstairs to get ready for bed. In my bathroom mirror, I looked at the woman I had become. Stronger than I used to be, more confident, more independent. The revenge had been the end of my old life, but it had also been the beginning of my new one. I thought about Robert sometimes, wondered if he regretted his choices, wondered if he had learned anything from what happened. But mostly I thought about my own future. Tomorrow was Sunday. I would go to church, have lunch with friends from my hiking group, maybe work in my garden some more. Simple pleasures that belonged entirely to me. Next week, Mike had asked if I wanted to go to a movie with him. I had said yes. Not because I was ready for another serious relationship, but because I was ready to see what else life had to offer. The perfect revenge hadn't been what I thought it would be. It hadn't been about destroying Robert or Sasha or making them pay for what they had done to me. The perfect revenge had been this: building a life so good, so full, so entirely my own, that I no longer cared what Robert Collins was doing with his. I was 37 years old and I was free. Free from lies, free from betrayal, free from a marriage that had become a prison I didn't even realize I was in. And for the first time in 15 years I was excited to see what came next. The revenge was complete, but more importantly the healing was complete too. I had gotten my life back and it was better than I had ever imagined it could be. Robert Collins had taught me that love without honesty was worthless. But I had taught myself that a life built on my own terms was priceless. And that was the best revenge of all.